This podcast is for you. Your co-hosts, Ben Dodge and Eric Huso at Effect Epic Consulting, believe that your potential is limitless. Tapping into this potential is how you can affect epic results in your life, relationships, and business. Welcome to the Principles of Epic Growth.
Good morning.
It always is. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. 2019, bienvenidos.
I know, I can't wait. I love New Year's, actually.
This is going to be the greatest year ever.
I'm a grumpy old man when it comes to New Year's Eve. Like, I'm not the guy that stays up anymore and parties. Like, I could care less about all that. But I love New Year's. I love everything about it. I love the symbolism, the opportunity to look forward and, you know, I wouldn't say start again or start over, because I don't feel like you should ever stop or give up. But right. I do love that transition period of we're marking this year behind us and we have another one in front of us. What are we going to do with it? You know, and that's kind of what we're addressing today. What are we going to do with this year?
Yeah. New Year's can be really powerful if you intentionally make it powerful. Without a clear intention to make it powerful, there's really no difference between January 1st and January 15th or December 15th or any other date on the calendar. That the date itself isn't that significant, but you in your life have made it an intentional thing to make it matter. And so that's why it has that powerful effect for you in that symbolic and literal way.
Yeah, I love it. It's like an open door I get to run through, you know, charge through it. What's this new year going to bring me is not necessarily a question I ask. It's what am I going to do with this new year? What am I going to make out of it? And I do ask
this
those.
Year.
That's right. That's right. It is just an absolute amazing experience, I think New Year's can be. I love the pictures that you see on the internet right now. It's full of social media memes of the gym, you know, the last week of December versus the first week of January. It's like a ghost town, and then all of a sudden it's packed, right? Or the first week of January versus the last week of January. You know, it's jam-packed that first week, and it's a ghost town again at the end of the month. I love those, but those are powerfully true in a lot of ways, right? Like, people have this habit of, you know, a short-sighted sense of, I need to do something better. And by the way, good for them for being awake enough to know that they need to do something a little bit better. And so they set goals. And they go through this fancy-dancy process of setting goals, or maybe not so fancy, depending on you. But, you know, they'll wrap their mind around a few things they want to do better, and then they charge forward. And much like in an endurance sport where you go too hot in the beginning, they fizzle out pretty quickly. And
so we'll address some of those things today on how you can, right. If you are a person that has made New Year's resolutions, how you can make them stick this year, how you can really create something special with what you've written down or what you've put in your mind of what you want to create in 2019.
I agree. I think there's some pretty important ingredients to this process that most people overlook, and so they end up failing and they don't understand why. Then they feel guilty, and then they start over again. You know, they kind of put it away until next New Year's and start over again, right? Yeah. We don't want that.
Yesterday I was watching a bowl game on TV, and there was a commercial for Planet Fitness, a gym. And basically it said, no sign-up fee, $10 a month. But their line, it was actually shocking, it said no commitment. No commitment necessary.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, you know, just come $10 a month, no commitment necessary. Like, I can't think of a worse commercial, really, to describe what's needed to drive human change, what's needed to create the health that you want to do. No commitment needed. Are you teasing me?
That's a genius business plan, though, isn't it? Because you know you can get people to feel good about having a membership.
Yep.
And if you encourage them that they don't actually have to be there, but they can afford a low enough monthly payment to say that they're a member there and that they always have the opportunity to start working on it, then you're making money off of ghosts.
$10 a month.
That's right, baby. Pay me that $10 a month just to sit
no
at
commitment.
home.
I don't want your commitment. Just send you $10 a month.
For $10 a month, you can stay fat. That's it.
And feel good about it.
Yeah, for $10 a month, we'll help you feel great about being fat. It's awesome. I'm starting a gym.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so let me just share with you a couple things about what I've thought about what we're going to talk about today with New Year's resolutions.
Deep into the mind of Eric Uso.
Yeah. So the first thing is what we've kind of danced around here the first couple minutes, and that is your New Year's resolutions have to be rooted in what you're committed to. If there's a gulf, if there's a separation between what you're saying that you're resolved to do in 2019 and what you've defined as what you're truly committed to, you will fail. So your New Year's resolutions have to be rooted in what you're committed to. So if you are new to listening to our podcast and you haven't listened to our podcast on commitment, I would invite you to go back and listen to those podcasts. We got a couple on commitment, right? Yep. To really get a sense of what we're talking about when we use that word commitment.
Yeah, and if I can, let me explain a little bit about commitment, about how you can determine what you're committed to, because I think some people struggle there. It's an alignment issue, and it's a purpose issue. So spend the time. If you're going to spend time thinking about your goals, back up a little bit further in time, so to speak, in your mind, and spend some time figuring out why you're here in your mind. What do you feel your purpose is as a human being on this planet? Like, for some people, it's all religious, and I get that. I totally believe in God, and I know that there's purpose for me here too for that. But what do you feel your purpose is as a personal individual on this planet Earth? What is it that you're in alignment with? Like, what really gets you going? You know, some people, for example, the Navy SEALs, I love them, but you know, they just feel born to that particular kind of line of work and that kind of calling in their life where they're out there sacrificing for the greater good, you know, whatever. So just what is your purpose? What does it really do for you? You know, what gets you going? What gets you so excited in the morning that, you know, like, yeah, I'm the best husband on the planet, or I'm the best, you know, business owner. You know, what is it for you that you're just like, yeah, I really want to do this. This is what aligns for me. And there's the alignment issue. So once you feel like you know what your purpose is, make sure that when you're coming up with commitments, it's not just something that you want to do. And it's certainly not something that you think is expected of you. That's like immediate failure. Yeah. Like don't do things that you think are expected of you. But for goals to be successful, they be rooted in your commitments. For you to be successful and understanding what your commitments are, you should know and understand what your purpose is and be in alignment with that through this process of setting goals rooted in your commitments. So identify commitments through your own alignment of purpose.
Love it. You remind me of an analogy that Chip and Dan Heath used. So Chip and Dan Heath, they wrote one of your favorite books on the power of moments, but they also wrote a book that, in my opinion, is one of the best books on helping people to change. So helping organizations, helping individuals to make changes. And they use an analogy of an elephant. So picture a human being riding on top of an elephant. And the reason why most change efforts fail is because we focus on the human being. Like, move that elephant. Put that elephant where it needs to be. Put him in the direction that it needs to go. And obviously, a human being is going to be able to physically handle an elephant for a very short time before his strength weakens and he's no longer able to move that elephant physically. That elephant is powerful and strong and is no match. The human being is no match for that elephant in terms of that physical strength. And so they talk about in this analogy that you have to motivate the elephant. That the elephant has to be motivated to move. Now, if that elephant is motivated to move, now the human being can just guide that elephant through this process. And so in this analogy, the rider on top of the elephant is the mental state. Like, do you know that you need to be healthy? Do you know that you want to be a better parent? Do you know that you need to make more money? It's that intellectual side of getting people to change. The elephant part is the emotional side. And that's what you were driving at, I believe, when you're talking about, rooting your resolutions in things that align with you, that bring you joy, that bring you satisfaction, that bring you excitement. When you wake up every day, are you excited to do these things? So if your resolutions don't get your elephant excited, then it's going to be 4 or 5 days and you've made some commitments and you're going to find yourself at the donut shop having a donut. because you didn't excite the elephant inside of you.
Why does everything we talk about revolve around food
Oh.
and weight? No, yeah, it is a little bit about that. But let me make sure that I'm clear here. Like, doing hard things is not always exciting. Weight loss for some people, for most people, is not an exciting journey. It's hard. It's difficult. A lot of the physical endurance things, waking up at 3 a.m. and going on a 100-mile bike ride in the dead of winter is not exciting. So the actual day-to-day tasks are most likely never going to be exciting. What has to be exciting is what you envision the transformation process or the journey is for you, where you're paying that price knowingly because it's going to help you be a certain kind of person or accomplish a certain kind of thing, and that's the exciting part. And so I just want to clarify that. And I think that's exactly what you mean, but I just want for the listeners to make sure that they understand that your elephant might not always be that happy to take that step, but you're gonna create that journey anyways because the overall thing might be exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yesterday I was at the Fiesta Bowl with my son. So Central Florida played LSU, great game at Cardinal Stadium. And as I'm walking into the stadium with my son, there's employees all along the path. And over, 20, 25 different employees. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And it just started to resonate with me. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And that word happy jumped off, it just sunk into me, and I just was pondering it, Happy New Year. What's going to bring happiness this new year? What brings a person joy and happiness? And I thought about then what brings me joy and happiness. And as I was watching the game, I just started to jot down a few things, like what brings the most joy and the most happiness to me, and how do you make a happy new year? And so I wrote down some things, and I started to ask myself some intentional questions. So at the top of my list, my marriage brings me tons of joy and happiness. Sometimes, though, I'm unintentional in bringing joy to my marriage. And so to have a happy new year, I'm going to be more intentional in bringing joy to my marriage. So I'm going to ask myself questions that are specific, like what can I do today to bring joy and happiness to my wife? What could I do today that would just put a smile on her face and make her really happy? My children bring me a lot of joy and happiness, and those of you that have kids, you know that you know what that means. And they also bring you lots of frustrations and pain and sorrow and agony and stress and all that thing. But you know what I mean when I say your children bring you extreme joy and happiness. However, as a parent, it's really easy to just kind of go through the motions in your parenting, where you're not bringing joy and happiness into your relationship with your children. And so asking myself some intentional questions, what will I do to bring happiness into my relationship with my children? What can I do that will bring joy into my relationship with my children? And so this ended up turning into a little half-page document that I created last night, where I've got some key things that are rooted in what I'm committed to that bring me joy and happiness, and I ask myself some intentional questions. And I have some space to write down action items, because if your goals, if your intentions aren't rooted in action, they're not going to come about. Like, it's not going to happen. It has to be rooted in action. And so I've got some spaces for some action items. So write down what it is. What am I going to do this week to bring joy to my marriage? What am I going to do this week to bring joy to my relationship with my kids? And going through these things that I'm committed to, just really give myself the opportunity to, on a weekly basis, ask myself, is my marriage bringing me joy? Did I have a happy week in my marriage? Did I have a happy week in my relationship with my children, etc.?
So the first two letters of the word goal is G-O, go. And so I love that principle of action. And I think that hopefully goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyways. Go and do, So have you seen the movie Christopher Robin, where they just recently did the whole Winnie the Pooh thing?
No.
All right, so it's a fascinating movie, actually. And Christopher Robin, I actually have no idea whether that's the author of Winnie the Pooh or not. I mean, I probably could have Googled it before this podcast, but he's the main character in this book, and it's as if he was childhood playmates with Winnie the Pooh and all those, old time characters, Eeyore and everybody else, right? Anyways, he calls Winnie the Pooh a bear of a very little brain, and Winnie the Pooh calls himself that too, in his little Winnie the Pooh voice, right? One of the things that was like nails on a chalkboard to me is that there was a conversation there between the two of them once, and Winnie the Pooh is saying things like, sometimes doing nothing leads to the very best something. And another one I basically choose to go nowhere so that somewhere can come and find me. And I'm like, that's horrible. like that's the opposite of what we're talking about. Now, I love that in the context of that movie. It was about a guy who was super busy with life, and he got wrapped up in work so much that he neglected his family. And so it was a way to get him reconnected with, some of those things. I get the context of it is great. But the principle of doing nothing and the best somethings will happen to you, and or of not having to go anywhere and the best somewheres will just come to you. That's just couldn't be further from the
When
truth.
does that happen?
Yeah, that's right. So dreams don't just happen; you have to work for them, and that's something actually that they talk about in that movie too. But yeah, so I love this action thing. Is so many of us will set our minds on something that we want. And from an intellectual perspective, we know what we need to do to make that happen. Yet, from an action perspective, we Winnie Pooh it, or Winnie the Pooh it.
Yeah.
We poo it. How about that?
Yep.
We poo it, and we sit there and wait for that to come to us. We wait for that good thing to find us, and or for that thing to happen to us, and we don't do enough to go make that happen. So you can't be Winnie the Poohing it out there.
And you're still waiting for it. If you're waiting for it to happen, you're listening to this podcast, still waiting for it to happen. And so it really does have to be rooted in action. And so I ask you, to have a happy new year in 2019, what brings you happiness? What brings you joy? And I'll make an invitation to you. Your action item, an application for this podcast would be to write down specific things that bring you joy. And I've shared with you a couple. That hopefully you find joy in your work. If I can't imagine going to work, I know there's lots of people that do, but I can't imagine going to work and not enjoying what I do. And there's so many different lines of work. I'll give you an example. So when we drive to California, and all the truck drivers that are there, a thought that I have is, man, I could never do that. Like, I could never just sit in a truck all day, every day, all alone. Like, I just couldn't do that.
Yeah, me neither.
Yet there are hundreds and thousands of people who love to do that. And they love the isolation. They love the road. They love going somewhere. They love that whole thing. And that's great. We need like truckers of the heart and the soul of the American economy, taking goods all across the land. And so they love doing that. And just because I don't love doing something doesn't mean that it's not a worthwhile thing, and it doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't love doing it. And so find hopefully those of you that are younger and you're looking for employment ideas, hopefully you'll find something that you enjoy doing, where you can commit yourself to a cause greater than yourself, that every day when you wake up, or not every day, but most days when you wake up, you're like, you know what, I'm going to go make a difference. I really enjoy what I do. So to find joy in your work, to find joy in your hobbies, to find joy in your personal life, to find joy in your relationships. So going back to the action item that I would invite you to do is write down some specific things that bring joy, or that you would wish would bring you joy. And then with each one of those, write down some action items. What am I going to do this week so that I can experience joy in my work? What am I going to do this week so I can experience joy in my hobbies? With exercising. Exercising is a frequent topic that we've talked about already with New Year's resolutions. Do you enjoy what you do for working out?
It's a good question.
My personal experience is if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it very long. That's why I love riding my bike. I love riding my bike. I love being out in the outdoors. I love seeing the sunrise. When you're on your bike and you see the sunrise, it's a special experience. And there's where you can just get in a zone, and I can be all alone riding my bike and in a zone listening to an audio book and just thinking and pondering and creating my day. And there's also the social aspect where you're riding your bike with other people, and the conversations that go on, and the encouragement and the teamwork and the camaraderie and that's an amazing part of riding a bike too. You get those best of both worlds. And so for me, riding a bike is something that I can do, and I can do it consistently, and I don't have to talk myself into doing it. Where there's other things that if you wanted me to do certain kinds of workouts that I would last 2 or 3 days and I'd be like, nope, ain't gonna happen.
So that's the problem with most people in America right now, though. So let's talk about this. Like, there's got to be more than just enjoying it. The hard, cold truth is anything that you want to reach out there and grab, any dream that you want to make happen, especially if you're dreaming big and if you're dreaming massive enough, is not going to be an easy process. It's not going to be a journey that you're going to enjoy. Deal with it. Look in the mirror and realize that there's no way on earth that this is going to be fun. You have to look beyond what the actual daily task is in terms of finding your joy. Otherwise, you can absolutely end up quitting everything. Mm-hmm. So we can't let this be an exit for people. This can't be a crutch. And I know what you're saying. I get it. Like, try and be in alignment is a better way to say that, or another way of saying it at least, with what with what really gets you going, with what makes you excited and happy. So that it's easier to stick with it. But at the end of the day, what are you committed to? Because if you're committed to it, it doesn't really matter whether you like it, because there's a benefit to it. From a financial perspective, a really good example is saving money as opposed to spending it on something that you enjoy doing. Mm-hmm. Like, whether that's going out and, a little bit of shopping and buying that favorite thing, or the little, I want to go get a freaking hamburger milkshake, whatever it is that you love spending money on. There's no necessary joy in not spending it, and just, hey, I'm going to, instead of going and spending this on this thing that I really like, that actually I enjoy, that makes me happy, I'm going to instead not spend it and put it in a savings account. Woo, that was real fun, right? I just deposited money to my savings account. That was so much fun. I had so much fun doing that. Bullcrap, right? It doesn't happen. But that the advantage for making that deposit on a big picture is going to lead you closer to something that you're creating that's bigger than yourself, that you're really committed to, and there's joy in that. But in the task itself, there's very seldom joy. Now, that's a principle that you have to understand for something that's big enough. When you're dreaming big enough, the task itself sucks. Ask every Navy SEAL about Hell Week, for example, right? There's no joy in that. No way. In fact, the whole thing is intentionally created to be as miserable as possible for you. But they're committed to something much bigger than that. Yeah. And so the journey itself is something that they will never forget. I'll put it that way. But it's not necessarily something that they enjoyed, that they loved doing. It's rare indeed to find somebody that actually loves that. So masochist. But anyways, that's the process that I think we have to go through our minds in terms of being rooted in our commitments and being in alignment, is so that, because when it gets hard, and it's going to get hard, you can still be totally committed.
Be all in,
you can
motivated.
You can stick with it. It doesn't matter. You can hate running and become the world's best runner. You can hate lifting and still lift better than anyone else in the gym. You can hate riding your bike out in the cold and still suit up and go do it. Why? Because now you're a hard, tough, mentally impressive person, because you're committed to something bigger than yourself, and the little hurdles of what sucks during the day doesn't matter to you anymore. Now, that's where you want to be, I think. That's where people should get to emotionally and mentally. It's that space where it doesn't really matter what the daily tasks are. Who cares? I'm not like a fair weather exerciser. I'm not a fair weather whatever. I do this because I'm committed to something bigger than myself, and I'm going to enjoy the journey of it, even though the task itself is something I can't stand. Like, I'm going to eat vegetables because they taste good. No, they don't taste good. That's a lie. Spinach and broccoli and asparagus and all that crap does not taste. Ice cream tastes way better every time. It just does. But you got to do it anyways, and you got to know why you're doing it. Knowing your why and what you're committed to and being in alignment with it is the most powerful formula you can possibly live a life with. And so you don't have to just enjoy the daily things. In fact, if you're struggling keeping a commitment, go look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself why you're doing it. And do you have a good answer? Are you in alignment? Does it serve one of your commitments? If you're fat, can you look in the mirror and go, I'm fat. I suck at eating. I can't control my emotional eating. I can't put down the fork. Can you admit that and look at yourself and to an accountability and honesty degree that you can now make a different change and say, I don't really care. In fact, I care so much about it now that I'm going to make a change about it. Can you, if you suck at exercising because you just simply can't get out of bed, can you honestly have a conversation with yourself in the morning, look yourself in the mirror and go, I suck at this. I can't get out of bed, but why do I want to do it? What's my purpose? Is it because the culture around me expects me to get up and work out, or is there something I want for me in there? And then do it. And then it doesn't matter. Then it can suck all day long and you're going to get up anyways. It just, most of the things that we do that serve our goals aren't fun. They're not exciting. The daily task does not bring joy. The sum total of them strung together puts you on a path and a journey that does bring
incredible joy.
That's right.
Incredible joy.
It's you've got to look beyond the surf. You got to look beyond yourself. You've got to see what's down the road, and that is what can bring joy. Now, the only way you're going to be able to look beyond the surf and see down the road is to know what you're committed to and to know why you're committed to it.
Yeah.
That why is important because it's not if it's going to suck. It's not when it's going to suck. It's going to suck. And if your goals are that easy to reach, dude, what are you doing? That's stupid.
Yeah. I love that. Now, with that why, you've motivated that elephant inside of you. That elephant now is moving. And as the rider, you're not trying to get that elephant to move. You're just providing direction for that elephant. And that's a whole lot easier than trying to drag an elephant through a room, right? And so last night I had a conversation with my wife. My wife is a wellness coach, and she helps a lot of women be healthy and successful. She does a great job in helping ladies change their diet and get their health restored. And we were talking last night. She's trying to help a few people, and she's like, how can I help these people that, say they want it, but they don't follow through. And you just gave the key right there. Like, if you're a person that has made commitments and you've broken those commitments, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why am I doing this? What is the real reason why I'm doing it? And if that reason is not rooted in your commitments, and if it's not aligned with what you've declared you're committed to, and if it doesn't, if the end result doesn't bring that emotion, that energy, that excitement, that drive, then you will fail. And so you have to stand in the mirror. You have to look at yourself honestly and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And get rid of the bullcrap answers. Get rid of all the, I should, I need to, and really see yourself as you are. Why do I want to do this? And then you've got to attach your actions into a cause greater than yourself. You've got to attach those actions into something that you're truly committed to.
Embracing the cold, hard facts is amazing. So this isn't negative self-talk, and this isn't some trumped up weird version of positivity, or that kind of self-talk where you can talk yourself into doing something.
Yeah.
This is simply look yourself in the mirror and see it how it is and call yourself out for it. And once you can embrace the hard, cold truths about something, you can then make changes. So this is at the core a real authentic kind of thing. This is towards our principle of authenticity. And you need to be super authentic. Don't lie. Stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Stop lying to yourself and stop doing what you think other people expect of you. What do you want? If you actually like being 300 pounds and overweight and you want to die early from diabetes and obesity, great. Then you're being authentic to yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
If you don't, then why the hell don't you want to be that way and start living a better life because of whatever it is? Why? And then if you fall short, not if, but when you fall short, look back at the mirror again, be accountable to yourself, and make the necessary changes, because it's what you want to do and you know why you want to do it. You stick any kid out there and have them play on a sports team that mom and dad force them to be a part of versus the team that they want to be a part of and the sport they want to do. There's just so many examples, all day of what we want to do versus what we're expected to do.
And I want to reemphasize what you said about that look in the mirror process. It is not for you to beat yourself up and say, I'm such a loser, I'm such an idiot, no. And it's also not positive self-talk. I'm the best in the world, I can do anything. It's just an honest, authentic conversation with yourself. Who am I? What am I committed to? Why do I want to do this?
That's right.
Stay away from both extremes of the beating yourself up and I'm the best person on the planet, positive self-talk.
Yeah, but don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Err on the side of being just blatantly honest. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then who are you honest with? I mean, that's terrible.
Say that again.
If you can't be honest with yourself, then who are you honest with?
Yeah.
So that's what the beautiful part about looking yourself in the mirror is. And then there's a guy by the name of David Goggins. He calls it the accountability mirror. And he'll put up sticky notes all around his silhouette basically on the mirror. He's a Navy SEAL, an ultra runner, and just an incredible guy. And that's what he does. He'll put sticky notes on there of things that he wants to be better at, things that he wants to do, what people would probably in normal culture call a goal, but he doesn't really, and he'll also put sticky notes up there of the things that he sucks at, that he wants to change, that, he's just being truthful about some stuff. And there's power in the authenticity of it. There's power in not lying to yourself. You can't change something that you're not honest with.
Love it.
Ask any drug addict that, right? Or any other addict about anything. You can't change anything that you're not honest with yourself about. So it's time to get real.
Yep. So you've got to get to know yourself. As Socrates said, know thyself. Know thyself. This should drive all human development, all self-improvement processes should be rooted in this drive to know yourself. And that can only be discovered if you're honest with yourself.
Yeah, so this is a great time at New Year's to be super honest with yourself. Look at those things. Take the time first to identify what it is that you're committed to by understanding more of what your purpose is. And that might take days. That might take minutes. It might take hours. It might take weeks. I don't know. But spend the time there. Figure that out. That's a huge investment into yourself that's worth it. Get to know what you think your purpose is and what really just completely gets you going, and that's living in alignment with your purpose. Then your commitments are easy to identify. So I know Eric and I are pretty huge on commitment, and you'll see the couple of podcasts in the back. You can go back and listen to those. But a list of commitments should be pretty small. They're a little bit bigger and global in terms of definition, and they're broad. But you're probably a handful of things is where you ought to be, and then your goals can stem out from underneath of those. And you can start identifying those things that you're going to take intentional action with. And that's the point today. Be intentional, right? Don't Winnie the Pooh this thing and wait for somewhere to come to you, right? And don't wait for something to happen by doing nothing. That's not going to happen. You got to be intentional. You got to take action out there and make it a happy new year.
Yep. You create your happy new year. Create it powerfully. Create it intentionally. Bring joy into your happiness. Bring joy and happiness into your life through your actions, through your intentions, through your commitments.
And on the topic of goals, there's a podcast we did also about goals. And just to recap on some of that, so because today's, all about the transitional point of a new year. But this podcast can be listened to at any transitional time in your life, any time where you want to just kind of not reset the clock, but transition into a new set of goals or a recommitment. So I would say dream big. The whole normal stereotypical way to set a goal is the whole SMART thing, and it has to be achievable, and that's all just garbage.
SMART goals do not generate emotion. They get the mind right, but they don't get the heart right.
Yeah, so one of the principles that we talked about in that goal podcast is to dream absolutely massive, on a massive scale. And then putting action to your dreams is what makes it a goal and makes it something that you can potentially achieve. And just before you get it, ratchet it up. So you're always achieving, but by the time you achieve it, you've already got something else
Always
identified.
Always stretching.
Looking beyond the horizon, right? And so you're constantly, why? It's because the pursuit of that is where the joy is. So it's in the pursuit of personal growth and so forth that you're going to find the actual joy. And again, not in the daily tasks like we talked about today. The daily tasks are going to suck, but you're going to love doing it. You're going to get to the point where you love doing it. You're going to be, I can't believe I'm that guy now, right? I love doing these hard things. Well, it's because what happens to you in the pursuit of it is one of the things that really makes you who you are. It does for most of us, right? So, and the last thing, of course, is that action. When we talk about goals, the first two letters are G-O. Go.
Let's go get it.
Go and do.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Happy New Year for those of you that are listening to this right around the New Year, and happy new transition period for those of you who are listening to us later.
Yep. And that is true. This is something, there's not a whole lot of difference between January 1st and January 15th. So if you're listening to this a couple weeks later, any day can be a transition day if you choose to use it as a day that, hey, am I going to wake up to what I'm committed to? I'm going to wake up to the things that I'm going to create in this time.
That's right. I just had one more thought here. How often can you adequately express what it is that you're working for in terms of your goals? I think some people right around the New Year can finally put words to it and articulate it, and then somewhere it just drops off. And you should at any given moment be able to say what your goals are and what you're committed to, like it is your address or telephone number or your name. Like you should get to the point where you know that mentally. Yeah.
That's something that we do with the people that we work with. People, the more elite that you become, the more coaching really helps and is needed, because that's what a coach helps you stay true to is every day you're able to say what it is you're committed to, what it is you're creating, what it is your intentions are, what your goals are, what your desires are, what your hopes are. And those that are not successful can't articulate that. They don't know. Like, oh, let me think about that. I'm not sure. Like, what have I been doing for the last week? What have I been doing for the last months? Right. What have I been doing for the last year? What have I been doing for the last decade? I'm not sure. I've just been going through the motions. And the people that we work with are so intentional with their lives of creating that at any given time, if you were to ask them that question, they could articulate it.
That's right.
And that's something that we help them with.
So get to that point. And if it means writing it down every single day on a piece of paper until you got that thing down, great, then do that every day. Grant Cardone does that, right? Yep. Every day. So whatever it takes, guys. Love it. Enjoy it.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for listening to the Principles of Epic Growth podcast, your path to epic performance and life with incredible growth.